Right then. Next bit. Let's get on with the neck. Body's drying. Ibanez. Look how cool this is. Pretty fucking cool, isn't it? That's got a bunch of black CA glue all over it as well, because there's a million chips in it the guy wants fixing. Let's get on with this. Right. I don't have one of them fancy jigs that Paul does. Could I feed it into my... No, I'm not feeding it into my drum sander. I do it with a router and like a little... You'll see in a minute when I do a video, but we're going to thicken this a headstock. We're going to drill through, do the string holes first. String holes? Tuner. That's the words I'm looking for. It's been a long day. I don't know what's going on, guys. You'll see in the last video, which will be last week's, but it's the same day. Joy of television magic. Really struggling today to actually do anything and make my brain engage. There's too much going on. It's kind of fogged my brain. But we're gonna drill some holes through this. We're gonna thickness this. We need to mark out where the nut slot is, because I've only cut the front side because I've got the smarts. So we're gonna need to cut the slot. And then we're gonna go and carve the neck. I do have a fancy dancy machine, very similar to Mr. Marlow Studios, but mine's fancier, because I'm fancy. But the last time I used it, the router, there's like a template and a bearing that sits on it, and this bit can move. The template can move. And I thought I had it locked in place, didn't have it locked in place, and it fucked the neck. The router fell off. Well, the template fell off the bearing, which then made the router fall, which then just plunged it straight into the neck. Absolutely fucked the neck. So since then, I've kind of gone off using it. So I might just do it the old school way, and I'll show you how you do that, because it is quite simple. And by the time I've set that up, I could have just hogged off the material with an angle grinder anyway. So yeah, let's stop waffling and let's get on with something. Right. To work out your neck carve, it's all quite simple stuff. None of this is complicated. If I can do it, none of this is complicated, is it? You want to work out a couple of centre points. Get yourself a centre rule. Makes life nice and easy. Radian Radian? Yeah, Radian tools. Make some really cool router bits as well. Bits and pieces. Cool stuff for guitar making nerds. There we go. 28 on both sides. Put a mark on there. And the same up this end. Get out, it's pretty much bang on straight away. You can't teach that. You're just born with it. That level of arrogance is born with as well. For anyone that knows me, they do know I'm a prick, so it's okay. It's okay. Oh, I'll drop that. We need that. Ooh. Right. Hopefully we can see that big old centre line through the middle. You need to mark the first fret and kind of like your 12th fret sort of area, and roughly where your heel's sitting. We're just doing this roughly, we're not going to carve it just yet. Because you want to come a little bit off that line anyway. but I don't want to touch the body because it's still covered in CA glue. It's just giving us a rough bit. I want to go. You can put a washer on the body and run around the washer, or just trace that line. If you're going to build guitars, you've got to be able to draw a line, innit? There we go. Right, and then mark. Where do we want? We want the 12th fret. About there. So let's do it properly. We've got the little thing, haven't we? We've got the thing. Some straight lines. Right. And what you're going to do is measure off the first fret point 5mm either side of your centre line. Measure off the 12th 10mm. And join all those lines together. Is it showing up with a blue pencil? Let's have a look. Yeah, you can kind of see. Hopefully you can see that. And that is the first set of carving lines. Right, next bit. Next line you're going to need is a line 2/3 of the fretboard, or 2/3 of the neck blank. Let's do the correct English. Try and teach you the right thing. Now you want the thickness, overall thickness, so that's 25mm, like bang on 25mm. So you do 25mm times 2, and divide that by 3, and that will give you 16.6. Measure off the back side. 16.6, no, 16.5, which is where I drew the line anyway, isn't it? It's like I do this for a living, but how many people just went prick? Because I did. So that's your line there. Repeat it on the other side, because you're going to need 2 to work. Now what you're going to do, where to put my tape? Hang on, let me get tape. Let's have a visual aid. Visual aid, look at this. Oh, fucking Blue Peter. How many people wanted Tracy Island when they were a kid? What was her name? Oh, was it Dad to something Turner? Shit, what was her name? Was she the one that made it? That was cool though, wasn't it? Showing my age now. Anyone that doesn't know what Blue Peter is, or that they made Thunderbird Island, you're missing out. It was top tier television when I was a kid. Right, anyway, back to this. That is the first carve line, and you're going to go across there, so that whole section's coming out. So it's quite a bit that comes out, isn't it? Boff straight across that, all the way down. Repeat on the other side, and then once that is done, draw another line, join that up, and then start rounding it. But I'll show you this as we go. First off, though, I'm gonna thickness this and drill some holes, because it's going to be easier to do that when the net's completely flat. So let's do that. Right then, are you ready to have your tits blown off with the level of awesomeness that is this jig? It is 30 seconds worth of effort on a piece of old worktop and some MDF to make some wedges, but that slides into there and basically locks itself in place. You then have a router base with your bowl bit in it again, with some blocks on it that you can then raise up. Let's raise that all the way up so it's not doing anything. And you can slide over it, and then some stops so you don't go too far back and cut into the nut. Although this is for a different headstock, so they don't really line up. So we'll have to screw another block in there because I can't be asked to move anything. But yeah, right, let me block that quickly. Right, piece of ply in there will do the job. It's just to act as a stop so don't go too far to the nut. We're going to come about there-ish. Yeah, about there-ish. That's technical, isn't it? And then with the bobbin sander and that, we can just feather that into the nut, which is where we want to be. Right, I want my headstock to be 14mm, so I've got a little line there. We'll drop this down a couple of mil at a time. We're not doing 4mm worth of routing or whatever it is, 5mm. That would be ridiculous. Ridiculous, I tell you. I should really stick that down, shouldn't I, so it doesn't... Oh, come on, Simon. Then. We're doing this outside, it's windy, it's going to go everywhere and the tripod's wobbling. But it saves all the dust inside. 2 tape lines, 2 pencil lines that we're going to work to, and I'm just going to use the carving bit on the angle grinder just to basically take that off at an angle between those two. Just hog that bit of material out, then we'll flip it round, do the same thing on the other side, and then draw ourselves some more lines. That's all it needs to cut. It's just, we're just using that to hog that whole section out. Like, save going at it with a Shinto file, which takes forever. That took like, what, 45 seconds or something just to hog that bit out. Make your life easier. We're not carving the whole thing with an angle grinder. We're not Crimson Guitars. We're not doing any of that shit. But we are going to use it to make our life easier. Right, let's flip it around and do the other side. Right. Now we've got a neck that looks like that. So we're going to draw a line in between the lines we just worked to. We went halfway. We're just going to eagle eye it and go with that. I reckon that's pretty much bang on. Yep, still that level of cock. And there. Right. Gives us another line. Then we are going to work from the centre line to that line. And that will give us all the facets to take out. And then we can start rounding for thicknessing down to our final thickness. What you could do, and I could have done it with a bandsaw, but I'm showing you this way, is measure off your final thickness and just bandsaw out the big chunk you don't need. But I'm showing you how to do it. If you don't really have the big bandsaw and stuff, it is dead simple. It's just take the thickness out with a spoke shave and some sandpaper. If I can do it, it's simple. So let's put some tape on this back outside just to not throw a load of dust in here. And let's get this done. Right, so after doing that, you're left with something that looks like that. Which doesn't look like much, admittedly. But it's taken about an hour's worth of graft out of it for you, which is the main thing. So now we can start basically coming in with a file to extending this line down here, just sort of getting round to where our transitions are going to be, putting it in round here, and then starting to like spoke shave it and getting it rounded in and all the other bits and pieces. I'm just going to stick you in time lapse because it's going to take a minute. Right, so that's what we're getting to. Taking it down roughly to our final thickness at either end. We've allowed for some sanding and bits and pieces, but that's the main bulk of it hogged out. So now we can start working on the transitions around there, transitions down this end. I'm going to work to probably just a bit in front of that line. And then just start hitting it with some blocks and some sandpaper and get it all nicely rounded over, because at the minute you've got kind of a sort of shape, which I quite like. So it's basically how I do my carve, and what I tend to do is thin it a bit more on this side, so that's a bit quicker for the people to do the shreddies. But onto this bit. Morning. that's the transitions all roughed in. I'll put this end, and we're down to, can I do this one-handed? I doubt it. Turn it on. $21. Can't get it. Can't line it up. And 22 and a bit. So I want to shoot for 20 and 22. So we've got plenty of room in there for sanding and whatnot. Now, we spoke shaved most of it. There's still some, you can feel some ridges and whatnot in there. The spoke shave won't get it 100%. So what I do is flat board, and some 80 grit, and some 120, then somewhere in there's another one with some other grits on it, and I'll just go over it with those, and what that'll do in like a shaping kind of motion like that will take any weird little high spots out and give it like a uniform roundness all the way around. Then we'll go through with some strips of sandpaper and start like finessing everything and getting it up to where everything needs to be. I think we still need a little bit around there just to give it a bit more of a whoop into the final depth, but starting to look like a guitar neck. Oh, right. The mask is a necessary thing, but I hate wearing them. Right. Couple of hours of work and we're done. What you would have seen. I English good. Was just basically repeated all the way up the grits. Started at 80, went up to 400. Just the same thing. So rather than film it like 6 times, just imagine the same thing with multiple different grits. And we're done. I'll come to you. Hang on. There we go. Got all the transitions all up through there, so it flows nicely into the shape of the headstock. Same for the heel, sort of all flows nicely around, and it ends up giving you kind of like a modernly C, probably more of a D sort of shape, which is more what I tend to go for. You can control the shape that you're producing by how tight you hold your sandpaper. Like if you pull it right down and tight, you can get more of a C sort of shape. You just need to make sure you're not sanding into the fingerboard. Otherwise you'll end up doing that and sort of stepping it in, and then you're going to have a problem. Whereas I tend to hold it out a bit further and then shape that in, and it gives you more of a D shape, which I prefer. And then, like I said, I thin mine slightly down in this end, so for the guys that play a bit shreddy, it kind of takes a bit of the meat away from the underside of your hand. Tiny little bit of a sanding whoop in there, just to sort of add a bit of flavour. That's it. Then all you need to do is raise the grain. Move that out of the way, you can see what you do. And basically repeat the process once it's dry. For those that don't know, raising the grain, popping the grain is something you want to do. If you were just finished like sanding it and leaving it, then sand it to whatever you're going to do, job done. If you're going to put any kind of finish on it, you want to pop the grain, so just spray some water on it, and then it will go all furry, and it's the grain popping up. Sand that back, and then it will be 100% perfectly smooth and lovely, and then you can go on and do grain filling, sanding sealer, whatever you're going to do. Some oils say you don't need, like I use Osmo and it says you don't really need to, but I will do it as a matter of course, just because it's only like another 10-15 minutes worth of work, and I know it's 100% right. So that's that. Probably not the most exciting of videos, probably quite dull, but I kind of wanted to show you guys how you can go about making a neck yourselves, or at least shaping a neck. It's dead simple. Maybe like the next builds, I'll show you how you go about making a blank and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a piece of piss. It was, I started at 12, I've had half hour or so for a sandwich, and it is now 4:30. And I've not exactly broke my neck getting it done. Yeah, it's done. It's easy. Give it a go. And all you need, you don't need anything complicated. I use an angle grinder, an orbital sander, and strips of sandpaper. That's it. Done. Yeah, some like cheap files. They're not even like super expensive files. It's easy to do. Hope that helped. Next video we'll prep it. We'll put some side markers in, some frets, and do the little recess for the disc. Yeah, and then we're not far off starting to get a guitar together. Right, on to the next one.